Good. All right. Good morning. Thanks so much for joining us here at the Network Breakfast. Today, we're going to talk about the results of COVID-19, stress, fatigue. But before we do that, we're going to let our member participants give a 1 minute. So in keeping with that, we're going to say good morning to Chris Walters. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Tom, and ladies and gentlemen. Chris Walters with See-Through Windows. I'm a wholesaler of vinyl replacement windows. I cover a territory from Sandusky to the Pennsylvania border, Cleveland to Canton. Work with property managers, real estate companies, real estate investors. We both supply windows and install for these people, and also general contractors. At this point in time, if anybody here needs windows, you're looking at May or June to get them installed because of the manufacturers and the COVID situation. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Chris. Thanks for being here. Next, we're going to introduce Mike Bentley. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning.
Yes.
I'm Mike Bentley, and I am from the Brooks and Stafford Company. We are a full-service insurance agency located in downtown Cleveland, founded in 1849. Our agency actually handles every type of insurance, from your home, auto, motorcycle, boat, to commercial insurance. We have insured municipalities, entities. I work in the realm of healthcare. I work with small businesses and non-for-profits in putting together benefit plans. And also I'm very much involved in the Medicare market with hundreds of Medicare clients throughout the country. So if you have questions concerning your future options and coverage, I know with COVID and sort of leading into our discussion today, it's sort of led a number of people to decide on early retirement. And with early retirement comes deciding on your healthcare options. Do I take COBRA? Do I look at the individual marketplace? When does my Medicare kick in? With those kinds of questions, just ask Mike, give me a call. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mike. And thanks for being here this morning. Next, we're going to say good morning to Lee Jackson. Good morning, Lee.
Good morning, Network Breakfast Nation. My name is Lee Jackson, and I'm currently with Jackson Consulting Services. What we do there is provider relations, contract negotiations, leadership development, a little bit of branding, and a lot of business development. However, I am in transition, kind of wind down the consulting business and get a full-time position that will leverage my years of leadership experience in the healthcare field and in the senior service field in particular, and also leverage all the network connections that I've developed over the years. Recently, I've been working with a home care company and really have helped them position themselves to do better in the COVID environment. They've had some explosive growth during that point of time. So I'm just basically looking to meet with owners, executive teams, any leadership service organizations, and anybody that serves those organizations, just to have a discussion on ways that I might be able to benefit them, ways they might be able to help me, ways we can work together mutually to try to grow their business. That's kind of where I'm at right now and what I'm looking to do. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Lee. Thanks for being here. And we're going to do everything we can to help you get that accomplished. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to say good morning to Rob Lord. Good morning, Rob.
Morning, everyone. My name's Rob Lord. I work for Thrivent Financial. We are a full financial services company, meaning we do all types of financial planning for your retirement, any of your goals, college planning, and we believe money is a tool, not a goal. Everybody has different monies in their life, and we can use what they have to get them to where they want for the most part. And we also start with a solid foundation. We do, private life insurance with disability, long-term care. Life insurance has a good foundation for protection and build up from there to accumulation, distribution, and then legacy planning. So give me a call for any of your financial planning needs.
Great. Thank you, Rob. Thanks for being here. And next, we're going to move to the lovely and talented, we're so glad to see her today, this morning, Trina Gigax. Good morning, Trina. Let's hear all what's going on in your portion of the world.
In my neck of the woods. Good morning. My name is Trina Gigax. I'm a copy editor. My company is Fresh Eyes Reading, and I have a special sector of my company devoted just to dogs. So what I do is I work on web content, marketing materials, newsletters, articles, letters to the organization, and PowerPoint presentations to make sure that the copy is clear and readable. Most people write and have a lot of clutter in there that they don't realize that slows down the reader. And if the content isn't readable and effective and impactful, they aren't going to get it, and they're just going to either set down your brochure or something or go elsewhere. So the Pooch Writer is my dog sector of that business. So I love anything to do with dogs. So anybody that has connections with someone in the dog business, maybe a dog services company, somebody who owns a pet store, rescue organizations, breeders, anything that's connected into the dog industry, I'd like to focus a little bit on that right now. Fresh Eyes Reading and the Pooch Writer. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Trina. Thanks for being here. And next, we're going to check on Monica to see if the time is right. Good morning, Monica. Can you give us your 1 minute at this point?
Nice job. Well, first of all, Tom, thanks for inviting me. I appreciate that.
Of course.
And nice to kind of get to know all of you. So I'm Monica. I am with Keller Williams Tri-County, and I'm a realtor. I met Tom through process for new business. And he was gracious enough to invite me to your group. So the real estate industry market right now is a little crazy. There is not very much inventory. It's a great time to sell if you know anybody that's selling a house and needs some assistance with getting that house ready and kind of understanding the market. I know. Kind of understanding the market and what they might expect from positioning their house and what they should expect in the return they're going to get. Buyers, well, it's a challenge. And I am very good at getting their expectations set in terms of what it's going to take in this very, very, very competitive market. While the rates are very low, that's great for buyers. And get out there and find something and, good for them. But you got to be real creative today. People are paying shorts on appraisals. So if the house doesn't appraise, they're covering the appraisal cost just to get the house. They're waiving off, I would not suggest this to anyone, but they're waiving off inspections. It is really challenging for a buyer. So setting those expectations and helping them understand that it goes a long way in getting them through that process. So Monica Woodman, I'm a realtor and would love to help anybody with those needs.
Excellent. Thank you, Monica. And thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, now we're going to move on to our topic. And at any time during any of this, some of you, if I touch on something that rings a bell with you, and just speak up, it'll be okay. Because I want to hear at some point when I'm done with some of this, I want how you've handled this past year, because it's been a year now, March to March. And so at this point, I'm going to share my screen and we'll start with the text. I didn't feel like memorizing 11 pages of text, so I just put it down in a PowerPoint. So here we go. I'm going to share my PowerPoint, and here it is. Boom. Okay, how to deal with coronavirus burnout and pandemic fatigue. This came from a person that you'll see in the second paragraph there, she's from Johns Hopkins. She's an associate professor, psychologist Carissa Parrish. We've been living with the new coronavirus for months, and the spread of COVID-19 is still going strong in many areas around the US and the world. As the pandemic wears on, it's understandable that some people are getting tired of taking coronavirus precautions. Psychologist Carissa Parrish provides tips you can use to keep these effective practices, avoid coronavirus safety fatigue or burnout, and protect yourself, your family, and others from COVID-19. Okay, now you may not be able to read these, but I can. These are kind of nifty things to hear. The first in the upper left-hand corner, talk with your friends and family. Second one with the calendar, maintain your routine where possible. The third one is focus on positive activities. The fourth one is acknowledge your feelings. The next one, keep a healthy lifestyle, proper diet, exercise, and sleep. Don't use alcohol, smoke, or drugs. And that, the explanation is meaning to make up for how you're feeling with stress and fatigue. Don't use more alcohol to think you're going to deal with it. Disconnect from media and limit panic. You know, if you watch TV all day long, it's going to make you nauseous because of all the things that are happening all over the world and at our border, our southern border, and in Washington, D.C., in California, New York, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, seek accurate information. Don't just listen to one source. Talk to a counselor if you need to. Use your past coping skills and techniques. Follow safety and hygiene procedures, as well as prepare a supply of water, food, and household items. Of course, when this started, everybody stocked up on everything and the shelves were bare. But now we're sort of getting back to normal. The production has met demand. So we'll move on to that. Why is it hard to stick to coronavirus precautions? Before 2020, the general population was not wearing face masks in public, maintaining physical distancing, or washing their hands frequently. Now, health experts are recommending these precautions to everyone to prevent the spread of the SARS-CoV-2 coronavirus, which causes COVID-19. And keeping up with it all can be overwhelming. And she says, this doctor, trying to adhere to anything extra is always a challenge. You can add extra steps to your routine for a few days, but sustained behavior change is hard, especially when no one around you is sick and you just don't feel like wearing a mask or saying no to things you like to do. But the fact is, the precautions work. COVID-19 risks and consequences. It can feel strange to reorganize your life around a risk that doesn't seem real. Right now, most people are still removed from the consequences of getting COVID-19. The risk might not feel real to them if they don't know anyone who's sick with COVID-19. She adds, unfortunately, some people get a bit of a thrill from doing something risky and escaping consequences. You may know people like that. I'm probably one of those. Make a commitment. Behavior changes can start with having a clear intention and making a promise, wearing a helmet when you bike ride, stopping at traffic lights, and many other life-saving habits begin with a decision. You want to do the right thing to keep yourself and others safe, even if that means a slight inconvenience. The same principle can apply to washing hands, maintaining physical distance, and wearing a mask in public. Stay flexible as recommendations change. We mentioned earlier that Dr. Fauci said we don't need to wear a mask, and then he changed his mind. Maybe the science of it changed, and he said we should wear a mask. New scientific insights about the virus that causes COVID-19 change experts' recommendations day by day, which causes confusion. You might be asking yourself, do I still need to disinfect my groceries? Do I need to wear a mask in my car? Is my child safe playing in our yard? It's hard, but important to keep up. Sticking with reliable, trustworthy information is essential. New facts are emerging as we learn more and more about this virus. In the meantime, it makes sense to use the understanding we have. Practice precautions until they're second nature. The key is repeating that new step until it becomes a habit. When you first start flossing or putting your child in a safety seat, it might seem like a chore, even though you know it's the right thing to do. So when it comes to COVID-19 protection, you just commit to it. And then over time, you find you're putting your mask on or washing your hands without thinking. Kids in particular, she says, thrive with routine and structure. Keep necessary supplies handy. She also recommends making sure it's easy to find a mask and use it when you need it. If I can't find one, it's an extra step to have to go looking. So to reduce barriers to wearing one, I have several masks and keep them in various places. The same idea can apply to hand hygiene. Keeping small bottles of hand sanitizer with at least 60% alcohol in several spots can encourage frequent use. Use stories to understand risks and consequences. For a lot of people, getting sick with COVID-19 is an abstract idea, something that happens to other people in different parts of the country. But the reality is that coronavirus can affect anyone. Read a story about someone who's gone through COVID-19 so it becomes personal to you. Give kids some choices. When encouraging her kids to wear masks, Paris says she let her own children customize them. As more of a variety and patterns became available, I let them pick colors and fabrics they liked. Kids can also choose their favorite scent of hand sanitizer or a fun virtual game to enjoy remotely with their friends. Involve children in keeping families consistent. She said that she lets her children have a voice in making sure the family maintains safety precautions. I told them they are allowed to remind me if I ever forget my seatbelt. Giving them that level of involvement helps keep them engaged in safer practices. Parents can give kids permission to remind other family members to maintain physical distance, wear a mask, and keep their hands clean. What are some healthy ways to cope with stress during pandemic? Take breaks from watching, reading, or listening to news stories, including those on social media. It's good to be informed, but hearing about the pandemic constantly can be upsetting. Consider limiting news to just a couple of times a day and disconnecting from phone, TV, computer screens for a while. I know for most of us that would be almost impossible because that's the way we connect with our businesses. But this is something we could look to do except for business. Okay, so I went to United States Department of Labor. This is the OSHA page. And I wanted to show how much time and energy they spent in frequently asked questions about COVID-19. And each of these right down at the bottom here, the questions that are grouped by topic. And each one of these has 3 or 4 questions that they ask and answer to whether you should have to go to work or not, because your employer needs to follow all of these guidelines. Listen to some of these. General information about COVID-19, cleaning and disinfectant of your workspace, cloth face coverings, construction, employer requirements, healthcare, liability waivers, personal protective equipment, posting OSHA 300A or equivalent form. I'm not sure what that is. Mike, do you know what OSHA 300A is? No. All right. Respirators and particle size, reporting, restrooms and hand sanitizing facilities, retaliation, what the heck? Getting a little militant there, retaliation, return to work, testing for COVID-19, training, and worker protection concerns. That was on just this one page. They put all that effort into answering questions, OSHA questions from the United States Department of Labor. Wow. Okay. Are you done with COVID-19? Here's 9 ways to help cope with COVID fatigue. COVID fatigue is increasing for many people as we get worn down dealing with the novel coronavirus pandemic. UC Davis Health clinical psychologists have tips for coping with COVID fatigue. And you'll see the first three there. Exercise to help cope with COVID-19. We can look at that and talk about your frustrations, engage in constructive thinking, practice mindfulness and gratitude. I like this one. Try being in the moment, breathing and looking around at what you have. The more you do this, the easier it gets. We put ourselves through a lot of unnecessary misery, projecting into the future or ruminating about the past. For now, just take life day by day. I'm going to read that one. Take it day by day or even moment by moment. Number 3 on this page, be compassionate with yourself. Don't expect perfection and don't wallow in mistakes or missed chances. Nobody prepared us for getting through COVID-19. We're all making it up as we go, and it's completely fine if you don't have all the answers or always know what to do. No one does. Here's the last 3. Find things to look forward to. Let yourself laugh and look back, but carefully. Don't think all the way back to last summer, but think about the past few months and how far we've come. Look at all the things we've been through and how resilient you and your community have become. Okay, questions, comments, life experiences from the past year. This is where I'd like to hear from you. And I have this thing that we could go through that I want to get, I want to connect with you guys first. Things you've done and or changed and adapted due to COVID-19 pandemic. Have you experienced any of the stress and fatigues found in the previous presentation? Anybody want to speak up?
Well, I have plenty of comments to make if you allow me a few minutes.
You got it. It's all yours.
For those of you who know me, I think you would generally agree that I'm a pretty positive person. And if you didn't have a chance to join us back before the new year, there was a little presentation I made. I think it's on YouTube. Teach us to number our days. I don't know. I know there were quite a few hits on that. You might want to look at that to sort of gain perspective as to approaching the future with COVID. But we in our society today are so reactive rather than proactive. And with COVID, I think it has forced more Americans to learn to be proactive rather than reactive. I was just looking at some recent data concerning some sociological issues. There are fewer divorces as a result of COVID. There's also fewer marriages due to COVID. There are also fewer abortions due to COVID. There's also fewer births due to COVID. And these sociological results, many of them are a good thing. People are taking more time and saying, well, I'm not financially able or secure right now to get married. So maybe they're delaying the marriage. Or maybe the COVID situation has put this husband and wife now in close quarters where they've had to learn some coping mechanisms and to learn to love one another a little bit more or to get along better. So it's certainly had a great impact, I think, in a positive way, more positive than negative on families. But there's a saying, and I don't know who came up with this quote. It's very simple, that life's experiences can make you bitter or better, plain and simple. So as we face COVID-19, are we letting that make us bitter, regretting we didn't have a chance to have a wedding ceremony, or we didn't get to have a funeral service for Aunt so-and-so and being bitter about it? Or are we looking at taking life's circumstances and making lemonade out of it? So it's interesting, the sociological effect that COVID has had, and many of the results are good results. And I think Monica, in her world of real estate, has seen that there have been some very positive movements during this age of COVID in the real estate market. And you're finding a shift, so to speak, in many urban areas, getting the heck out of downtown city areas, moving to suburban locations, looking at locations now where they can have a home office. And the effect on commercial real estate, who knows what's going to happen there, as now we're in a pattern that, hey, we can really get along working from home. We don't need thousands and thousands of square feet in a downtown location. You know, we're doing pretty well letting employees work from home. So there are so many shifts and changes, and many of them are actually good as the result of this pandemic. Now, one final comment based on some of my study and experience. I think the group that has actually suffered the most are children. There has been a dramatic increase in counseling needs for children, dealing with the issues of fear, dealing with the OCD, obsessive compulsive disorders, because now kids feel they have to wash their hands all the time. There's been a problem with the lack of socialization with children. So in the realm of especially elementary age children, I think they've probably suffered and had the most negative impact, especially those who haven't been able to go to school because their schools have been shut down. So anyway, enough from me. Thank you for the time, Tom.
Of course. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. Thank you. Now, what I've got to wind this up is 1 year later, a new wave of pandemic health concerns. This is from the American Physiological Association. This is from March 2021. The key survey findings include a majority of adults, 61%, reported experiencing undesired weight changes since the start of the pandemic, with more than 2 in 5, 42%, saying they gained more weight than they intended. Of this group, adults reported gaining an average of 29 pounds, a gain of 15, which is the median. Number 2, 2 in 3 Americans, 67%, said they are sleeping more or less than they wanted to since the pandemic started. Similar proportions reported less, 35%, and more, 31%, sleep than desired. Nearly 1 in 4 adults, 23%, reported drinking more alcohol to cope with their stress during the coronavirus pandemic. Nearly half of Americans, 47%, said they delayed or canceled healthcare services since the pandemic started. Nearly half of parents, 48%, said the level of stress in their life has increased compared with before the pandemic. More than 3 in 5 parents with children who are still home for remote learning, 62%, said the same thing. Essential workers, with more than twice as likely as those who are not, to have received treatment from a mental health professional, 34% versus 12%, and to have been diagnosed with a mental health disorder since the coronavirus pandemic started, 25% versus 9%. Also, Black Americans were most likely to report feelings of concern about the future. More than half said they feel uneasy about adjusting to in-person interaction once the pandemic ends. 57% versus 51% Asian, 50% Hispanic, and 47% white. Gen Z adults, 46%, were the most likely generation to say that their mental health has worsened compared to with before the pandemic, followed by Xers, 33%, millennials, 31%, boomers, 28%, and older adults at 9%. This report elaborates on these findings and proposes strategies to help us navigate this secondary crisis. APA is committed to helping people emerge from this challenging time, poised to embrace and shape a brighter future together. I wanted to bring that to you and do that without putting it up. So that takes care of that. And then I say to you, thank you for your kind attention. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right. Anybody else have anything they want to add?
I like the, if I may, I liked the mindfulness and gratitude. I think that it's really critically important to stop and think about anything in your day or week that's gone right and sort of focus on that. And I will say, and I think I mentioned this to you, Tom, when we were talking, February, I was really struggling to find the look forward to thing. I don't like the cold. I don't like getting out in the cold. And it got a little wonky. I mean, to the point of Jim and I went out to dinner, and I don't go anywhere, restaurants, nothing. And on Valentine's Day, didn't matter that it was Valentine's Day. I got to the point of crazy, and we did go out to dinner. And I got to tell you, I felt a lot better after that, just getting out and feeling normal, kind of. So yeah, it's been difficult, but I really do think that it's important, really important to think about anything good that happens in your life and just hold on to it. You know, we're all going through tough.
Yeah.
You know?
We've all had to adapt in some way. The masks, the distancing, if you don't wait for the cashier to ask you to put your groceries on the belt, somebody's going to say something. Hey, back up, sir.
Yeah.
And then, you feel like a goof. And for a person like me, I never get used to it. When I get out of the truck, I don't grab my mask. I'm halfway to the door before I got to walk back to the truck and grab the mask because I see everybody else with a mask on. So, and it's like, I'm fighting it, so to speak. But
one of the things that you mentioned, Tom, that has really kind of helped me in my sort of obsessive compulsive nature. You talked about people needing to get exercise and doing that. Well, one of the ways I've dealt with this past year, I've actually lost weight during COVID. And I've actually become obsessed to get a minimum of 10,000 steps a day. And it doesn't matter the weather. It doesn't matter if I can't get out for whatever reason. I'm pacing around in the basement while I'm on my meetings and my phone calls. But every day I'm getting a minimum of 10,000 steps. Come high or hell or high water, it doesn't matter. And now it's a habit. And that's what you make it a habit. You just do it. My family thinks I'm nuts. Can't you miss a day? I said, no, because if I miss a day, the habit's broken and I might not get back to it.
It took them this long to figure that out? That you're nuts?
Oh, they know I'm nuts.
We figured it out really quick.
Okay.
Thanks, Rob.
What do you use to count the steps?
I have an app on my phone, and I have my phone in my pocket. And then what I do most of the time, and people think I'm nuts with this too, I'm outside. Sometimes I have and I don't like things in my ear, so I don't use earbuds. So I'll have the phone in my hand and I listen to a lot of books. So I went through 54 books last year, audio. Usually I read 10 or 15 books a year, but when I went to audio and I'm out there walking all the time, all of a sudden I did 54 books on various topics. Great. It was very, very upbeat and it was phenomenal. Recently, what I've been doing now is I've been doing a lot of upbeat music, adding that to the regime, as well as the audio books. But between the two of them, I'm like really super motivated to go do it. And if I don't go for that walk at some point, it bothers me. And so every day I do, no matter when.
Good. Well, no wonder you lost weight if you're walking with them books.
Well, I don't eat right. I don't eat right, though. That's the balancing part. So I am exercising good, but I don't eat so well. So otherwise, I would probably be super thin instead of still being overweight.
Wow.
but
Well,
I'm better than I was.
In some ways, it's made my business a little more efficient. Just with Zoom and stuff. Like I have a lot of clients in Western Pennsylvania, Youngstown area. And when I get a lead from one of them or referral, like I can do my first initial appointment via Zoom and not drive that hour and a half to meet with them. And not having that windshield time, that's 3-hour round trip.
yeah.
You know, I could fill in another appointment or be doing the paperwork or the research I need to do.
Can you be as effective with Zoom as you can in person, though?
I think in some instances it's more effective.
really
Partially
agree.
because of the technology. When you can put a presentation together and just say I'm doing a full financial plan, I can have that prepped and ready to share my screen and go right to it instead of a cumbersome binder and you're flipping pages or trying to figure out a way to get it up on the screen on the wall. So I find in some ways it's very efficient. Now, usually by the end, when we're actually going to do paperwork and get signatures, I will try to meet with them in person if they're comfortable with that.
Yeah.
At that point, I think it's worth it, but there's some legwork we do behind the scenes before that.
Okay.
Rob, I don't know if you need wet signatures for that, but I have noticed it's actually really efficient to run through a contract with somebody
Yep.
with the shared screen. They can see it, it's right in front of them. They're not distracted by paperwork moving around the table. You know,
Yep.
it seems very succinct, and I think they really, I think they gain a little more from that myself.
About the only thing we really need a wet signature on is if we're doing a transfer from another company, transferring an IRA to ours or pulling out from a 401k or something.
Yeah,
Then you
okay.
need an actual signature. They won't accept an electronic signature. And I also run a
mine,
40.
they will, and it's nice because you run through they know what they're
Yep. Everything else we can
signing.
get
Just
up and
send it to them. It's
going.
just
And
click, click, click.
worst case scenario, I just send that paperwork through the postal service. And
That's dangerous.
I know. And I found out why. One of the guys in the building next to us, he was out talking to the postman yesterday for over an hour. Just sitting there by our mailbox, just talking to him for an hour. And I'm like,
You needed to come.
that's why our mail's slow.
It wasn't about business,
I have no idea what they were talking about.
basketball or baseball.
They were there. I left for
Probably
lunch.
the NCAA basketball team.
Yeah, March Madness.
Yep.
Boy, Ohio State and the Buckeyes, bang.
Well, you just look at the Big Ten in general, other than Michigan.
Yeah.
Iowa's gone. Illinois is gone. Michigan State's gone. Maryland's gone. Rutgers gone.
Yikes.
Oh, yeah.
For
Did
those
they
who
have a
don't
lot of their
remember-
main guys out from COVID? Just curious. I'm
I
not
think
so.
the basketball, so okay.
The one team that was affected by COVID was Virginia Commonwealth, not in the Big Ten, but their team was affected. They had to forfeit their game. But other than that, I've not heard of a lot of COVID issues.
No.
For those that don't remember, Mike is a basketball referee extraordinaire.
Well, I actually set my whistle aside this year because of COVID.
Oh,
I declined a number of contracts, turned contracts back in because I've been involved in helping be a caretaker for my 94-year-old father and my 90-year-old mother-in-law. And I just didn't want to risk being exposed to so many people and bringing something into them. So I've not done a single game this year.
oh.
Now
Well,
I'm refereeing volleyball, and it's the travel season right now, and they're going full speed ahead. It depends what county you're going to referee on what the rules are. Like if we go down to the Columbus Convention Center for the big tournament, there are no parents allowed in there. They will stream each court on a separate, they have a channel. They have some type of sports thing set up that they can stream it on a TV or internet type thing, but there are no parents there. It is so nice for us referees. You don't have to hear the parents.
Yeah. And see, with volleyball, or let's say with football, it's a lot different than basketball because the official touches the ball
Right.
At least every 30 seconds.
And you're right in the mix of it all.
And you're right in the mix of it. And you
I'm up on a stand.
Exactly. Now, some officials are actually wearing masks.
Yep.
And then they've actually come up with a mouthless whistle. That
Electronic whistle. We do use the electronic whistle.
Electronic whistle.
Yeah.
So, I miss the camaraderie and I miss the exercise that I get from it. But I don't miss exposing myself to the risk and possibly giving it to a parent.
Right.
So
you think
hey, Tom, I had a question. Pardon me?
You'll start back up in September, October, basketball season?
I hope so. Yeah. I mean, I've recertified for next year.
We got about 160 million Americans, I think, that have been vaccinated. I thought once everybody gets vaccinated, although now that I've learned that if you had it and you get vaccinated, you could compromise your health. But
right.
Be that as it may, once we're all vaccinated, then you would think we could not have to worry about masks.
Well, the issue is a year from now or less than a year from now, when you're going to get your flu shot, you'll have to get your COVID shot again, because there is no documentation or data as to the lifespan of the vaccination. Is it good for 6 months, 9 months, a year?
Yeah.
No one knows.
Larry Gatlin, the singer, the Gatlin brothers.
Sure.
He was vaccinated and he got COVID again. And I think he tweeted it out that he was so surprised that he got the vaccine like 2 months ago and now he's got the COVID again.
I think that happened to a congressman, maybe. They got the shot and got COVID shortly thereafter.
Yeah.
I've never had a flu shot. I don't do any of that stuff. And I'll tell you, I am so, I'm feeling like Monday can't come fast enough because that's my first shot.
You know which one you're getting, Monica?
What's that?
You know which one you're getting?
I don't know. I think Pfizer or Moderna, because from what I'm hearing, that's the clinic's groove.
Yeah.
So I think that's what it's going to be. I don't know.
Right.
I'll take whatever.
Sure.
I didn't want that J&J one because it wasn't quite as effective, I was hearing, but now it's whatever they got.
That's pretty much like the hydrochloroquine story. As long as it suited the other side, Neil Cavuto on Fox News said that Trump is killing people with with that product. And then when Biden won, suddenly hydrochloroquine was effective, as it has been proven all over the world.
Well, Mike, why is the SAR COVID-19 a bad thing to refer to it as the China virus or the Wuhan virus? Sure. We're told that we can't demographically locate or demographically assign a name to a virus. However, the CDC now talks freely about the UK variant or the South African variant. Now, I'm confused. You can't say the China virus or the Wuhan flu or the Wuhan virus. However, the CDC can say the UK variant virus or the South African virus. So I'm still puzzled by that.
Yeah. I think we better leave it there as far as being puzzled. Otherwise, they'll take the video down.
Yeah.
So anyway, Mike, you had a question earlier before this. You wanted to ask something and then I interrupted you.
Can't remember, but I enjoyed the presentation.
Okay.
Ron, I got another meeting
Same
to
here.
show my face on.
Well, thank you.
Thanks for coming,
Thanks for
Monica.
having me.
Join us
Thank
again.
you.
Thank you,
Okay.
Mike.
Bye.
Thank you, Rob. Monica, you want to stick around a second? You can.
Yeah, for a second, sure.
I'm going to
So-
stop. Okay, first I'm going to say thanks so much for joining us at the Network Breakfast. And you can watch this video as many times as you need to cope with the stress and fatigue of COVID-19. At this point, Monica and I will continue without you. So we'll see you next Tuesday morning. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Okay, thank you. Take care.